Okay, hello, I am Professor Feroz Khan. I am from Fortune Institute, that is FIIB, Basant Bihar, Delhi. And today I will introduce you Section 134 of the Companies Act. That is a new act nowadays, that is Companies Act 2013. And I will talk. I mean, this Section 134 talks about the financial statement and also the report, any report from the board of directors towards shareholders. Okay. So now, before I tell you or before I take you into the technicalities of this Section 134, okay, let me first tell you about the basic premise. Let me tell you about the basic premise of Section 134, that perhaps it will help you to understand the technicalities. And now the basic premise is, just imagine you are a director or you are the MD of the company, okay, and you have been entrusted with all the resources of the company, whether it is a fund, whether it is all the power you are interested with. Now this is not your money, though you are the MD, though you are the CEO of the company, but this is not your money. A lot of stakeholders are there, people like shareholders, people like creditors, bankers. So their money is invested in this company where you are the director or where you are the MD. Now when you are preparing your financial statement, that is P&L, balance sheet and cash flow statement, and it will be basically delivered to, or it will be presented to the shareholders. Now the gap between you and the shareholders, it is to be processed, it is to be basically seen from a different angle, from a legal perspective. Okay. So the statement like P&L, balance sheet and cash flow statement along with the notes to accounts, actually you will be preparing, okay, but while getting it delivered to the shareholders, there is a some via media you have to go through. Okay. So for example, auditor, because you are basically internal agency, like you are basically a director of a company, and you are responsible for preparing the cash flow statement, P&L and balance sheet, but why others are going to rely you, because everything is yours now. Okay. So whatever the things you have done through P&L, balance sheet and cash flow statement, that needs to be authenticated, okay, that needs to be reviewed by one external agency. That is why the auditor comes. Okay. Now imagine the auditor has come, okay, the auditor has come and now he is ready to check your accounts, okay, check all the documents what you would like to give to him, okay, but he again, you will not go by simply what the documents you will be giving to him. No? So he will definitely want whatever the documents you are giving to him should be authenticated by you. Okay. So Section 34 also considers that whenever you are going to give documents to auditor, you have to countersign, you have to give your signature, you have to give your certification, so that the auditors can start the work. Now auditors have taken up the work after you have given all documents duly certified by you. Okay. Now auditors will check the accounts, auditors will check every annexures, documents connected to accounts. Okay. So now if they find any adverse comment, okay, so definitely they will put it up in their report, they will qualify the report, they will give their adverse comment in their report. Now whenever there is any adverse comment, the directors, or you are the being MD or director of the company, you are supposed to also give clarifications, okay, try to satisfy, you have to satisfy the auditor. Okay. Now suppose 10 points have been given by the auditors, and because of the submission of some clarifications by you or your board of directors, so some of the points will be dropped, but remaining points, if suppose the auditors are suppose not satisfied, in that case they will like their points and also your clarification, both have to be, they will put your points and also their points in the report, which will be seen by now the shareholders. So shareholders, when they are going to look at financial statement, they need also, there has to be one external agency's comments, that is auditor's report. So unless until there is auditor's report present with the annual accounts, shareholders are not going to rely this financial statement. So besides what you prepare and submit to the shareholders, now it is very clear that there has to be auditor's report. So then only the shareholders will be happy to look at the accounts. They will rely the accounts prepared by the management. Okay. Now subsequently, any more document if the board of directors they would like to give, okay, in that case they have to be also countersigned by directors or MD. There is a particular system also, I will talk to you about I will cover that also, section 134, so that will say also how the documents will be sent by the board of directors to the shareholders. So this much only I can give you now before getting into the nitty-gritty of the section 134, that it has to be signed by prescribed number of directors. Okay. Now again, what are the information should be contained in the annual report or the various documents, that is financial statement and other annexes, notes to accounts, etc., etc. So even section 134 talks about there are various relevant informations. Say for example, the informations like how much profit is to be set aside in the reserve, or even how much profit to be paid as dividend to the shareholders. Okay. So informations like even latest what we know, the CSR activities, even informations regarding that conservation of resources, those things also have to be covered in the annual report or director's report. Okay. Now this is, I am talking about the various relevant informations which are to be carried in the director's report and also the financial statement. Okay. Now what next is, what one section 134 covers also, that subsequent certification is required, like section 134 also requires that there has to be certification by the directors, for example directors responsibility statement. Okay. So in that statement the directors confirm, they give a certificate that all the prevailing accounting rules have been followed, even accounting policies have been consistently followed, and if there are any changes then they have taken due care to comply, to see that the rules regarding changing of accounting rules also have been complied. Okay. Even there are other things like even there is no restrictions on the board of directors to speak out or disclose only the relevant informations what has been prescribed in the section 134. The section makes very clear that if board of directors believe that there are more relevant informations which are not prescribed even, they are free to disclose in the annual report, so that every relevant information should go to the shareholders. Okay. Now if you look at even financial statement, okay, like cash flow statement, P&L, statement of profit and loss and balance sheet. Okay. Now there are a lot of technicalities involved. Okay. So technicalities like say for example stock, take one example of stock. Okay. Inventory. So now inventory can be valued in different ways. Okay. It can be valued on the basis of first in first out, or it can be valued on the basis of even LIFO, or say simple average or weighted average. So now there has to be a clear guideline from the management side, what exactly is the method followed for the inventory valuations. Say for example company follows say weighted average method. So just to clear the doubt, your financial statement should carry also a notes to accounts. So notes to account will clear the doubt as to what exactly the method of valuations the company has adopted. Okay. So company will mention, company will disclose that it is basically the weighted average method being followed by the company. So notes to accounts is very also relevant, very much relevant. Okay. So notes to accounts will help not only the people like auditors, not only the people like the bankers, the researchers, even the students or the various users, the various technicalities involved in the preparation of the financial statement. As we know that your statements are, the format of balance sheet, P&L are changing because of we are getting into IFRS, or India, the latest news is India is converging to IFRS. So because of we are going to almost very close to IFRS, so things are changing. Okay. So definitely notes to accounts also carry so much of things connected, so much of technicalities connected with the changes happening every time. Okay. And of course the last subsection of the section 134 talks about the penalty, because financial statements are statutory documents like P&L balance sheet and cash flow statement, they are statutory document. Why it is a statutory? Because the law prescribes, okay, the documents have to be prepared. Now this document carries lots of informations, lots of informations like people are going to even take decisions as to whether they should invest in this company, whether they should sell the shares what of this company they are carrying, or even they should purchase more. Okay. So definitely the financial statement carries lot of valuable, lot of relevant informations, and so also definitely responsibilities, isn't it? So now coming to the responsibility side, okay, directors, they are at the helm of affairs, they have lots of plenty of, they are called basically the trustee, trustee, you understand, like they are entrusted with so much of money, so much of assets, so much of resources of the company, and of course when you are having so much of power, so much of assets in your disposal, there is a chance that people like to misuse those powers. So now that's why there is a lot of certifications by the directors, in the director's responsibility statement. Even there is a individual, there is a declaration by the independent directors. Okay. So when you look into the if there is anything wrong done by the directors, there is a severe penalty. Okay. Because based on informations given by the directors, people are going to invest money. There are bankers, they are going to lend you a lot of money. There are also suppliers, they are going to provide you a lot of credit facility. So definitely if the informations are proved wrong, they are into loss. So definitely the law has understood this aspect, and the law is going to penalize or punish the directors like anything. Okay. So there is a severe punishment. Even the officers who are in default, they can be subject to imprisonment, and which can extend to even 3 years. Okay. Similarly, the company can also be fined. And the fine can also extend to it can extend from 50,000 to say 25 lakhs. Similarly, if the officer in default will be penalized, then the penalty can range also from 50,000 rupees to 5 lakhs. Okay. It can be also both both penalty and even imprisonment. So this way I have just covered the broader view. Let me introduce you the section 134. Okay. Now section 134 and subsection 1 talks about the various formalities to be complied by management while handing over the financial documents, financial statement and various documents to the auditors. Because like for example, the P&L balance sheet or the financial statement should be signed by the chairman of the company, in case the board of directors has authorized that person to sign. Okay. Or it has to be signed by 2 directors. Okay. And the 2 directors should include also 1 director as MD. Okay. And similarly 2 other persons, that is CFO and the company secretary. So now the question is, why this much of people have to sign? Okay. Now the answer is, definitely when we look at accounts, when we are talking about accounting of transactions where there is a lot of exchange of money involved, where there are lakhs of money, crores of money involved. So definitely the financial statement requires also responsibility should be fixed. Okay. So how the responsibility will be fixed? It is only when the people who are at the helm of affairs, they must take the onus or take the entire responsibility of conducting the affairs, managing the affairs. So that's why it is required, okay, that before the accounts are handed over to auditors, it should be signed by the prescribed directors, including MD. Okay. And definitely this kind of certification will definitely, it will make the auditors to start their auditing work, because unless until you sign, unless until whatever the documents you are giving to the auditors, those who have been signed, the directors are the auditors are not going to take a recognition of the documents given to them. Okay. So this is, I am talking about section 134 subsection 1. Now coming to section 134 subsection 2. Okay. This says that financial statement, whenever it is to be given to the shareholders, besides the P&L balance sheet, cash flow statement, there has to be also auditor's report, because now the auditors, they have taken up the work of auditing after the directors have given everything duly signed by them, whether it is a P&L account, balance sheet or any other annexures or notes to accounts. Okay. Now the auditors, they have done their duty, they have checked the accounts and they have given the report. So now whenever the accounts will be given to the shareholders for their adoption or for their approval, okay, so definitely the financial statement should carry also the auditor's report. Definitely shareholders will be more happy, or they can rely the documents when it is given along with the auditor's report, because auditor's report is a report from the external agency and it is statutory also. Okay. So, definitely this kind of subsequent authentication by the external agency, this talks about a good degree of reliance what the shareholders can have on the financial statement. So, basically what subsection 2 says, that annual reports or annual financial statement should go along with the auditor's report when it is being presented to the important stakeholders, that is shareholders. Okay. Now, coming to subsection 3, that talks about various relevant informations. Okay. Like for example, it talks about what is the board's policy, board of directors policies on the appointment, on the remunerations, on the qualification of the directors. Similarly, the various expenditure or the policy of the company with regard to CSR, which has which is in the limelight now. So, what is the policy of companies CSR, and what exactly even the implementation being happened. So, the new Companies Act 2013 is very instrumental in focusing on not only simply the formulation of policies by the board. Now, they are going to be also focusing on the implementation side. The auditors are going to very specifically see that whether the policies formulated by directors are implemented or not. Now, coming back again to subsection 3, that talks about so many relevant informations, like I said, CSR activities, like I said, policies of the even the board on appointment of the directors. Similarly, there are lots of other matters. For example, dividend is such a very relevant thing, because people outside who are investing or who are even watching the stock of the company in the stock market to invest, so they look at the dividend declared and paid by the company. So, how much amount of profit to be set aside for paying dividend, or what is the percentage of dividend declared by the board of directors, even how much profit has been retained by the company, because when you keep the profit for reserve, against reserve, definitely you are going to have lots of future programs to undertake. Okay. So, these informations like they are going to have lots of impact on the future plan. Even there are good investors, they look forward to understand what will be the future prospects of the company, because when they invest in the market, they are not traders, they are not intraday traders. Some or many of them are basically investors. So, definitely they would focus on even the future outlook of the company. So, these informations like investment, the related party transactions, like dividend and reserves, etc., etc. So, these are to be informed in the board of directors report. Definitely it is not simply P&L or balance sheet or cash flow statement. The board has got a responsibility also to speak out lots of things which may be qualitative also. Okay. The P&L, balance sheet and cash flow statement talks about the quantitative part, but there has to be lots of qualitative informations, like HUL is Hindustan Unilever Limited. They have been doing lots of activities on the CSR front. Okay. So, definitely they also talk about the CSR activities they have undertaken in the last year. Similarly, conservation of resources, the managers in the company, the MD of the company must talk about how much money they have saved in terms of conserving the resources, on the expenditure on the fuel. Okay, on the fuel. So definitely the MD has to be, or the board of directors, they have to be also serious. Similarly, how much foreign exchange the company has received this time from outside. Similarly, how much foreign exchange the company has paid. So these things also have to be reflected. So there are a number of things. This subsection 3 talks about, number of matters to be covered. I just touch the more relevant parts, but there are also other relevant parts, but those can be referred to the subsection 3, that will be more clear. So definitely these matters are very relevant in the sense people are watching. Okay, people are watching the company, how the company is doing, what will be the future potential, whether it is worth investing in this company and to keep this investment for 10 years horizon, or maybe 1 year after the stock should be sold out. Okay. So, basically these are the thinking of the insiders and also the outsiders. Okay. Now, let us come down to subsection 4. Okay. Now, the subsection 4 says that as I have already given a brief on the connection of auditors with the board of directors and also with the shareholders coming in between. Okay. So, whenever auditors give any adverse comment, okay, whenever auditors give any adverse comment, definitely the directors have to reply. So, I told you already that if there are 10 comments or 10 points raised by auditors, so definitely all have to be given clarification by the board of directors. Now, based on the good clarifications, maybe some of the points will be dropped by the auditors, but if the auditors are not happy on certain points, whatever the clarifications given by the board of directors, they would definitely insist, or they would definitely qualify their report, and also they will put forward the clarifications given. Now, basically it is meant for now for the shareholders now to go through the auditor's report and also see the declarations or the clarifications given by the directors against the comments raised by the auditors. So, now what is the learning? The learning is definitely the directors should not start thinking they can ride on anything. Okay. So, auditors are definitely going to pull them in case there is anything wrong done by the directors, and similarly the shareholders, they are now going to watch also the comments, the qualifications made by the auditors in their report. So, a good investors, okay, he watches, or he or she watches also the comments given by the auditors. Okay. So, I mean basically the shareholders, they go through the findings, the review done by the auditors. It is required also. Okay. Now, next is the subsection 5. Okay. Now, subsection 5, okay, section is same, that is section 134. Subsection 5 talks about necessary certificates to be given by the directors, because ultimately how you can pull the directors. Okay. It is basically based on the certificates, because they certify. So, for example, in the director's responsibility statement, they certify that all the accounting policies have been consistently followed, and in case there is any changes, then they have also complied the requirements of the accounting rules such as accounting standards to take care of the changes in the accounting policies. Okay. So, in that case, suppose something is noted subsequently that they have changed the policies, or they have followed a wrong practice which is not prescribed by the accounting policies, which is not complying to accounting policies, then in that case how the law is going to catch the directors. So, based on the certificates, because directors, they themselves write that everything is okay, everything is correct, like they have consistently followed. So, now this particular subsection talks about necessary certificates given by the directors in the director's responsibility statement. Say some of the points which are covered, like I already said you that accounting policies to be consistently followed, and the management has to take enough care to safeguard the assets. Similarly, there are other points like there is an internal control mechanism exists in the company, because accounting is basically is more accurate when there is a internal control mechanism exists. So, directors from their side, they give a certificate that yes, in this company there is a good internal control mechanism exists. So, now if there is a good internal control mechanism exists, definitely there is a chance that there will be less errors. Okay. There will be less manipulations. Okay. So, definitely these certificates are going to make the shareholders happy. Okay. Make the shareholders happy. Similarly, these kind of certificates are basically going to make auditors happy. Okay. Because if subsequently anything is noted down or caught by the auditors, then in that case directors who have given certificate, they will be held responsible. Okay. So, basically again this subsection 5 goes to facilitate the reliance or the belief of the shareholders and auditors on the accounting statements, financial statements. Now, coming to subsection 6. Okay. So, now you have understood that any document given by the board, it has to be counter checked. Okay. So, like financial statement, and we have already discussed that financial statement and other supportings like notes to accounts have to be checked by the auditors. Now, this subsection 6 talks about that subsequently, okay, subsequently whenever or any documents or even annual report also, whenever it is given to the shareholders, this has to be also signed, this has to be signed by them, like we have discussed in the subsection 1, okay. There has to be 2 directors, one of them has to be MD. So, similarly here also a prescribed number of people, or particularly the directors, they have to sign on any board's report or any annexes which will be now handed over to the shareholders. Again, this gives a kind of satisfaction to the shareholders or the users that everything whatever given by the company, it is countersigned, it is authenticated by the board of directors. Okay. So, again this subsection talks about I mean there is a higher degree of reliance or the belief what the shareholders can place, because there is a signature or the counter signature by the board of directors. Okay. Now, coming to subsection 7. Okay. So, there has to be notes to accounts, like for example, if you open up any annual reports, HUL or any other company. So, there has to be notes to accounts. And what is notes to accounts? Okay. Notes to accounts are going to act like facilitating the technicalities, okay, involved. So, I have already given you examples, say inventory valuations. Okay. So, inventory can be valued in a number of ways like FIFO, LIFO. Now, the notes to accounts will specifically say this company has adopted weighted average method while valuing the inventory. So, the doubts with regard to understanding of the various items or various heads in the financial statement would be clear, because there are notes to accounts. The notes to account will elaborate on the technicalities involved in the various items reflected. Okay. Now, besides the notes to accounts, definitely notes to accounts act like a what? It's like a footnote. Okay. When you look at any table, when you look at any diagram, you find every time you find that there is some footnotes given. So, notes to accounts is like that. Notes to account is basically like that only. So, that is going to substantiate, that is going to elaborate on the technicalities involved. Now, coming to subsection 8, which is the last subsection. So, that talks about the penalty and punishment. Okay. Now, I already said if there is a if anything if there is a non-compliance of section 134, okay, if there is a non-compliance of section 134 from subsection 1 to subsection 7, then the company shall be punishable with fine, which which will range between 50,000 to 25 lakhs. Okay. Now, every officer who are in default shall be also punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 years, or with fine which shall be which shall again range between 50,000 rupees to 5 lakhs of rupees, and even it can be also imprisonment and also fine. Okay. Now the question is why this much of money? Okay. If you look at the earlier acts, okay, the punishment or the penalty were not so huge. Okay. The punishment or the penalty were not huge, but with the coming of the new act, now the punishment has become very severe now. So, that perhaps that will scare the directors or the people who are at the helm of affairs to not to resort to wrong practices. Okay. Now, while concluding, I would like to make or give you some points with regard to comparison between the Companies Act 2013, the latest one, and the old one, that is Companies Act 1956. Okay. Now, section 134 can be compared with section 217. So, section 134 of the new act can be compared with section 217 of the old Companies Act, that is 1956. Now, if you just have a look between these two acts, you will understand that there are a lot of almost all the features, all the things of old act have been retained, but there are some additions like CSR, additions like related party transactions, additions like the board's policies with regard to appointing the directors, their qualifications, their appointment, etc., etc. So, definitely these additions are very relevant, because these are the best practices. India is basically going to be developed. Today we are developing, but definitely when you are planning to develop, to become a developed country, so these good practices have to come. Okay. So I think I have cleared everything with regard to the justifications, and also linking the justification with the provisions. Okay. With this I end my view. Thank you.